Hi, it's Cheryl from Caribou Country Lifestyle. So I've come out in the garden today. It's September the 28th today, and I'm just kind of harvesting some more vegetables out of my garden. So far I have harvested all of my beans and my snap peas, and I've removed my snap pea plants, and I've removed I've removed all my bush beans, and I've started removing some of the pole beans. They're a little harder to remove because they are so intertwined in the supports that we had them growing up, that I'm finding I'm having to cut the vines off of the supports to be able to get them down, and then I'm throwing them in the compost. And with the beans, I'm just cutting them off at the base and leaving those bean roots in the ground, because they'll decompose and give those nutrients into the ground that the soil needs for next year's garden season. So I'm here beside my spaghetti squash, and my spaghetti squash plant has pretty much dried up, that I'm ready to pick the spaghetti squashes off the plant. This is the one that fell off, and it didn't break, it's not cracked or anything like that, so it's in perfectly good shape. But I have still on the vine 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I got 7 spaghetti squashes in total off of these 2 vines. So that's not too bad. And over across from my spaghetti squash, I have my butternut squash. And I really only have 2 butternut squashes, and they're only like maybe this big. Not very big, but that's okay. Better luck next year to be able to get some more production and better yield. So my plan is to cut down this spaghetti squash vine and take the spaghetti squashes that I have. I'm going to store them in some boxes in my shop probably, and then we'll store them over the winter and eat them as they're ready. So I'm back. This is day 2 of my harvesting my spaghetti squash video. I ended up having to stop. I had delivery guys delivering a new washer for us, and so I had to stop, and then it ended up taking longer than expected. Had to make some dinner, and yeah, life goes on. So we're back, and I'm going to be taking down all of my spaghetti squashes now. The vine is totally dried up, so I'm gonna take in my spaghetti squashes, harvest them. There are the temperature is supposed to get colder next week. They're talking about +1, 0, -1 degree Celsius. So it's getting to that point where I have to bring these in. So I'm just gonna start taking down. I have, don't know if you've seen the video, I have the netted bags on my spaghetti squash. So I'm just going to cut just past where we tied it up, and then maybe I'll be able to save those bags. We'll just have to wait and see how that goes. So I have my snippers, and just going to cut this. It's tied right to the support, so I'm going to have to just cut it. And I can always get another type of a tie for these. So, I mean, it's not a big, huge spaghetti squash. I have some that are definitely bigger. I have one over here that's bigger. yeah, that's a better size. And I just have to slip these bags off. They worked out pretty good, except for the one that I didn't put in a bag and it fell off. Okay, I've got one more on this side, and then I've got two on the other side that I'm going to have to go around and cut. Yeah, just go around this side. So I got 7 spaghetti squash off of these 2 plants. So that's pretty good. And then I'll just put these in my garden colander bag. And I think I'm just going to put these in a box in my garage and let them finish, because usually these get pretty dry before you cut them open. So I'll let those finish. I'll put these back in my garden shed. And I just want to show you. Look at my little eggplants. They're not quite big enough to pick, but with it getting colder, I just can't see that it would be to let them out here any longer. Same with my butternut squash. Not very big. I have 2, another one hiding in here. And there's not, I don't know. This is my Carnival blend, and that's a family of the Brandywine. So I have 2 of these Carnival blends I'm going to be picking, and see how it has the green streaks in the top of it. I actually had a toasted tomato sandwich with one of those tomatoes yesterday with the Carnival blend, and it was red, and then it had the bit of the green streaks through the top of it, and oh my gosh, it was so good that I still had a chunk of the tomato left that I didn't use in the tomato sandwich, and I just sprinkled some salt and pepper on that and just ate it that way. It was delicious. And because all my tomatoes, I'm gonna have to pick them, so what I'm gonna end up doing is picking them, putting them in boxes, and then putting newspaper over the tomatoes and just let them ripen in the boxes. I think I picked about a dozen that had ripened, but I still have so many green ones, and I'm just gonna have to pick them and let them ripen in the house, and I'm hoping that they'll ripen relatively all at the same time, because I want to be making quite a bit of salsa. So hopefully they'll ripen all at the same time for me, or most of them at the same time. So I am going to pick these tomatoes. I have some boxes that I've saved. My thought process here is I want to try and keep the brands separated, so then at least I know I can keep track of which tomato is which that I'm going to be using and what I'm going to be using it for. Some things I'm going to be using with my eggplant and my zucchini, and I do a charred vegetable bake with that, and it's quite good. It has your tomatoes and onions and eggplant and zucchini, garlic, thyme, olive oil, lots of salt, and some pepper in it. So I want to keep them, like I say, separated so then I know what tomatoes are which. So I'm going to start with these two on this side, and this is just the regular brandy wine. And I think as far as the brandy wines go, I'll mix the Carnival Blend brandy wine in with the regular brandy wine. Some of these are such, you know, good sized tomatoes. Like, compare that on my hand. But then you look at the bottom of them and, I mean, they look kind of ugly. But you can cut around that and that'll be fine. See, all my brandy wines. So now I'm going to move on to my New Girl tomatoes. Saving the bigger boxes for the tomatoes that I have the most of. And the brandy wine, I had quite a few of. These New Girls, I've already been picking off of them, but I still have quite a few of them to pick. I also have, beside the New Girls, I have the Natural Black Cherry, and they have just started ripening. But I'm going to pick all of those cherry tomatoes as well. I have, over on the other side of the garden, I have my Oxheart and I have my Amish paste tomatoes also. Not as many of those, so they're both a pasty tomato, so I'm probably going to put those in the same box, but I will keep the New Girls separate from it. I've made quite a few tomato sandwiches with the New Girl tomatoes. It's just an earlier variety of tomato. And I picked some the other day too, so this box may not get as full as I think it was going to get. I just dumped those New Girls into a smaller box. I might have more of the Natural Black Cherry. And again, I'm just cutting the clusters off. So I have a lot of clusters of tomatoes. look at that. That's one cluster of tomatoes. That's the natural black cherry. There's probably over a dozen on that cluster. Way on the top. I'm gonna have to stand up here to get this. Oh my goodness. I'm up here trying to get this cluster without wrecking anything, and it was like intertwined. These ones aren't very big, but unbelievable how they put on so many tomatoes on one vine. Like, I'm really impressed. And I've had a few of these tomatoes, mostly in salads. I'll cut them up. Last night I did a pasta dish, and it had chicken in it, and it was a creamy pasta dish. And at the end, you chop up tomatoes and add it just before you're about to serve. So it's a warm pasta dish. And then you chop up the tomatoes. Well, I had quite a few of those natural black cherry tomatoes in the house, and they were ripe, and I chopped those up and put that into my pasta dish, and it was quite nice. I also have all my peppers. I never did get any flowers on my Tabasco pepper, just, I don't know, not a long enough season. And there was another pepper plant that was not the greatest. I think it was the habanero pepper. The jalapeno pepper has quite a few peppers on them, but they're not overly big. The cayenne pepper has lots of peppers on them, but they haven't turned red yet. I have a lot of sweet sunset peppers and a few sweet heats, and I'm hoping that I can make some cowboy candy with the sweet heat. I know most of the cowboy candy recipes call for jalapeno peppers, so I'm not sure what the difference will be if I do the sweet heat into the cowboy candy. I want to try it and see. I've never made cowboy candy before, so maybe if you've made cowboy candy and you can let me know if I should or should not use my sweet heat peppers in there, because there's no way that I will be able to eat them. They're just too hot for me. But anyways, we will move on. My box here. So again, just a bottom layer of all these tomatoes, but it filled up more than my New Girl tomatoes did, so I will use that box for this one. Now I'm gonna go over and we'll do the Oxheart tomatoes and the Amish paste tomatoes as well. They weren't as productive as far as producing a lot of tomatoes go, but I would try them again for sure. I'm not going to give up on them yet. See, they're still pretty green. I think I've had one. This one is they're starting to split on the top. So I don't know if they're prone for splitting, but these ones are starting to split. Not very big. I was expecting bigger from the Oxheart. That's probably one of my biggest Oxhearts. And that one's not a bad size too. Got some little brown marks on the side and on the skin That one's 2 growing in on the same. Got a brown spot on that one. I think I'll just give that to the pigs too. And that's it for those tomatoes. I want to show you these nasturtiums. These are my Papaya Nasturtiums. They just finally started flowering. And look at these ones in here. I love the color. I mean, better late than never. And over here, like, that is just such a pretty color. There's one tucked in there. Oh, I see a zucchini too, tucked in there too. I better cut that out. So I just picked my peppers, and I just want to show you. This is one of my poblano peppers. So we've had stuffed poblano peppers when we've gone to Mexico, and they are pretty awesome. This is a smaller pepper than what they would have served, but that's my largest poblano pepper. This is my little carnival blend. I only had the one, and it's a purple pepper, so that's cool. And these are my sweet heats, the one that you bite into. They start out sweet, and then this intense heat comes over, and it's pretty crazy intense heat. I don't like it. And then last, I have my sweet sunset. And I'll be using these in my salsa as well. I just have my jalapenos and my cayenne peppers left to pick. Okay, so here we have it. We have the sweet sunset, are the yellow ones in the top left corner. To the right of them are my cayenne peppers. Below the cayenne are the sweet heat. Beside the sweet heat are my poblano peppers, and the one in the middle is my one and only carnival blend pepper. I didn't pick my jalapenos because I'm just going to try and give them a little bit longer. Okay, I showed you some of the things that I'm taking out of my garden. The things that I'm leaving in my garden, I'm planning on leaving my Swiss chard in the garden. I'm also leaving my rutabagas. Any root vegetables that are in the ground, I will leave those. So rutabagas, my carrots, I'm gonna leave. My beets, I will leave. My onions, no, I will not. I'm going to pick my onions and put them on a rack to let them dry. And then I will cut the stems off, or the tops off of the onions once they're dried. Leeks, I'm gonna have to look that up. I can't remember if you have to pick leeks or if they can handle a light frost. And my broccoli is going to stay, my cabbage is going to stay for now, and my cauliflowers as well. I didn't have a lot of success with my cauliflowers. So far I have fed 2 cauliflowers to the pigs because the bugs ended up getting at them. So better luck next time. I picked my cucumbers as well. I had 4 cucumbers that needed to be picked, and Oh, I also picked my Peter Pan squash as well. I picked that. That needed to be picked. I only had 3 of those. Look at my early dew melon. That's my biggest early dew melon. There's another one kind of tucked in here. And I think I just have those 2. So again, I'm just going to leave it. They're not going to amount to anything, but it won't hurt to leave them. Show you, these are my habanero peppers. They're so teeny that they're not going to make it, but my jalapeno peppers, I've got a few in there, and I'm just going to leave them. I want them for my salsa. Now I still have tomatoes on the deck that need to be picked as well. So I'm going to go and do that and pick those, get them inside. And so I ended up taking all my the pole beans down. I ended up taking all of those down. And I also took all of the spaghetti squash vines down as well. Cleaned up some of the strawberries. I cleaned up some of the flowers, my zinnias that were no good anymore, not looking as pretty as the other ones. So I cut those out and I added all of that to my compost. And so it's nice to see all of that cleaned up now, because all those vines were just dying off anyways, and it was getting to look pretty gross in there. So glad to get that done too. So yeah, it was a good day today. Got lots done. Okay, so now I have everything inside. There's my spaghetti squash and my zucchinis. Under this newspaper, I have, forgot to take my cucumbers and my patty pan squashes out. Anyways, these are all my Brandywine tomatoes, and I just have them covered with newspaper, but I don't want my cucumbers and my patty pan squashes in there. I just happened to come across them after the fact. Okay, and then I just have taken newspaper and I've covered that box up. Over here, I have my natural black cherry all on the vines, and then these are all my little cherry tomatoes. There was the yellow tumbler, the red tumbler, the chocolate sprinkles, and the yellow pear in that little box, which I have been picking off of that one. Those tomatoes were on the deck, and I've been picking off of those. In here on the left is the New Girl tomatoes, and on the right is my the Oxhearts Amish pastes, and I had 10 of the Viva Italia, which is the Roma tomatoes, and I put those in with the pastes as well. And I have newspaper to cover over those too. So, and then in my box underneath there, that's my peppers. These are the tomatoes that I picked. We're gone for 4 days, and I came back and here were all these tomatoes ripening, so I was pretty excited about that. And then on my little windowsill, I have a bunch of the assorted cherry tomatoes. I have I'll just pull it down here so you can have a better look. I have my red and yellow tumblers, chocolate sprinkles, and some natural black cherry tomatoes.
The size difference between the natural black cherry tomatoes and those regular little cherry tomatoes is unbelievable. I can cut one of those natural black cherry tomatoes. I will cut it into quarters to put in a salad, or like last night I did a pasta dish I was saying, and I cut those natural black cherry tomatoes. I cut those into quarters. So anyways, that's all that I have that I've harvested from my garden. Like I say, I'm going to be keeping the beets in there, and I will keep the carrots. I didn't pick the eggplants. It's a pretty nice day today. I'm actually surprised that it's like almost 20 degrees today, which I don't think they were really calling for that for today. So I'm happy about that. I'm hoping it's going to be nice tomorrow. I want to get some help from my son to load some more dirt over in the strawberry bed that I'm preparing. I noticed that the where we started loading the dirt, it seems like that it has quite a bit of garden soil over there, but as we were getting down towards the other end, it seems like the dirt is thinner and thinner, so we need to take another couple of loads of that garden soil down and add it to that bed before we start dumping some more dirt to make another new bed just like that first one. So anyways, thanks for joining me, and hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll talk again. Bye for now.